Hello and welcome to my video series, College Fit, How to Build Your Best Fit College List. Hi, I'm your host, Monica Conlin, and with nearly 20 years of college admissions experience, I'm here to help you get started with exploring colleges and universities that are a good fit for you. In this series, we are going to be focusing first on assessing academic fit. Let's get started. So overall, for this entire series, I want to share with you what you will be learning. First, I'd love for you to scan the QR code on the screen and share with us what do you think makes a good college fit. And we're going to be looking at the results of this ongoing survey in just a moment. So by the end of this webinar series, you'll be able to identify important factors in selecting colleges and universities and assess what makes a school a good academic, financial, and campus culture fit. We're going to learn how to research and compare different colleges and universities so that you can build your best fit college list. So to start, we're going to focus on academic fit today, and I want to share with you the different types of post-secondary institutions that you will find in the U.S. So we can break this down into four main types of post-secondary institutions. What is a post-secondary institution? It is any type of educational institution that you can attend after high school in order to develop your skills, earn certificates, or earn degrees. I would love you to share with me in the chat how many post-secondary institutions you think there are in the U.S., and I'll share that answer with you in just a moment. So first we have technical colleges. So technical colleges provide both certificate programs and associate programs, and they are designed to prepare students for the world of work through hands-on training and employability skills. Next, we have community colleges, which provide two-year degree programs in addition to certificate programs, and they focus on affordability and access. Those two-year programs are either designed to prepare students for the world of work or to prepare them to transfer to a four-year college or university for 2 more years where they can earn their four-year bachelor's degree. One of those types of four-year colleges is a liberal arts college. So liberal arts colleges are generally set in smaller private settings with a focus on well-rounded interdisciplinary education. And then we have our research universities, which tend to be medium to large-sized campuses where students can earn four-year bachelor's degrees as well as graduate degrees and doctoral degrees. So there is a focus on academic research at these institutions with faculty as well as students oftentimes engaging in academic research, as well as a lot of access to a variety of activities, opportunities, and extracurriculars. So how many post-secondary institutions did you think there are in the U.S.? Well, our most recent data from the U.S. Department of Education shares with us that there are 5,916 post-secondary institutions in the U.S. So of those nearly 6,000 post-secondary institutions, nearly 3,000 are degree granting for four-year bachelor's degrees, and there are about 1,300 two-year degree granting post-secondary institutions in the U.S. So with so many different colleges and universities to choose from, it is really understandable that a lot of students and families feel really overwhelmed with this process of building their college list and deciding where to apply. So let's dive into how to narrow down and build your college list based on three different factors. We're going to be looking in this series at academic fit, financial fit, and campus culture fit. First, let's take a look at our survey from earlier on what makes a good college fit. So we see that most respondents say that academic interest is the most important. So that oftentimes is things like programs of study, what you're going to major in, and financial aid, how much is it going to cost. So we'll definitely be looking at these factors in this webinar series, as well as some other factors that you should be considering when building your college list and exploring colleges that you probably haven't thought of before. So we're going to dive into academic fit. So when we look at academic fit, we are going to break that further down into three categories. We're going to be looking at admissions, academics, and support services. So admissions is, do you meet the admissions requirements? Do you have the GPA, test scores, rigorous high school curriculum, extracurriculars in order to be a competitive applicant? Are you prepared for the colleges and universities that you are applying to academically? So in addition to that, we also want to be looking at academics like programs of study and majors, but also different opportunities, learning opportunities, such as being able to study abroad or participate in undergraduate research. And then finally, we also want to look at support services. Are there services in place to help you meet your educational goals? So let's dive in and look a little bit more closely at admissions when it comes to academic fit. So this is generally where I recommend that you start with your college building process, your college list building process. You want to make sure that you are applying to schools that are a good match for admissions requirements, where you're a competitive applicant. So we can break down the selectivity of colleges into four main categories: most selective to less selective. I do also want to note that community colleges generally have open admissions policies where there is no minimum GPA or test requirements. You just need to have a high school diploma or equivalency in order to enroll in a community college. For other colleges, you need to meet their admissions requirements and apply. And so we have our most selective schools that are admitting 20% or less of their applicants, selective schools that are admitting 21 to 40% of applicants, moderately selective schools admitting 41 to 65% of applicants, and less selective schools that are admitting 65% or more of their applicants. So I know that there's a lot of hype around these highly selective schools, and we hear a lot about how hard it is to get admitted into college and how competitive it is. That is true with our highly selective colleges and universities, but out of those nearly 3,000 four-year degree granting post-secondary education institutions I mentioned, only about 70 to 75 will fall into this most selective category, and only about 70 to 75 will fall into the selective category. So we're looking at 150 schools that are really selective, really competitive. You have a lot of other options to choose from. In fact, nearly over 70%, 73% of applicants to four-year colleges and universities were admitted. So you will be able to find a college or university where you are a good match for their admissions requirements. You just want to make sure that it's a good fit in other areas as well. So let's give you some examples of the selectivity and competitiveness of colleges. So NYU is an example of a most selective college admitting about 9% of their applicants. We're seeing near perfect GPAs and near perfect test scores from students who are admitted to NYU. The perfect ACT is a 36, the perfect SAT is a 1600. We're seeing an average GPA of a 3.8 for admitted students, but we do see a range of GPAs from a 3.4 to a 4.0. At our selective colleges, like University of Florida with a 24% acceptance rate, we are still seeing above average test scores, although not in the near perfect range, and high GPAs with an average of 3.9, but we're seeing students admitted with GPAs from a 3.3 to a 4.0. With our moderately selective colleges like Georgia State, which admits about half of its students, we're seeing test scores that are more around average. Our average ACT is a 20, and our average SAT in the US is a 1050. So we're seeing test scores that are closer to average, with an average GPA of a 3.6, but also a wider range of GPAs from a 3.2 to a 4.0. At our less selective schools, again, we're seeing average test scores closer to average, and we're seeing a range of applicants GPAs from a 2.7 to a 4.0 at Texas Tech, which admits 71% of its applicants. So I do want to point out that less selective does not mean lower quality of education. We're just going to see a broader range of academic backgrounds, as well as a broader range of academic support services that are in place at these types of colleges and universities. We're seeing students going to Georgia State with a 4.0, students going to Texas Tech with a 4.0. So you're still going to see really high achieving students at these institutions as well. I want to share with you a resource that can help you understand if you are a competitive applicant at the colleges and universities that you are considering. This is the U.S. News College Admissions Calculator. And with this tool, you can select any college. Let's go ahead and select University of Wisconsin at Madison. Don't spell it wrong, I won't find it. University of Wisconsin at Madison, and I'm interested not in who applied or was rejected. I want to see who got accepted. So I'm going to just select the accepted button, and I'm seeing that students admitted to University of Wisconsin-Madison in general had above a 3.5 GPA and had test scores that were above 1100 or above a 24 ACT. So you can plug in your own GPA and test scores or anticipated test scores to see how you compare to other applicants at these schools. So if you click on their view profile, we can get more information about University of Wisconsin-Madison. You can click through the different tabs. But for now, let's just scroll down and take a look at their admissions information. We can see that University of Wisconsin-Madison admits about 43% of their applicants, and the average high school GPA of students who apply was a 3.9. But again, if we go back down to our admissions calculator, we do see students being admitted with a 3.0 or above. We even have an outlier down here with about a 2.6 GPA. So this is a really helpful tool for helping you consider if you are a competitive applicant at different types of schools. So if you are a junior looking to apply to college as a senior, or you're a senior getting ready to apply, it is important that you are applying to schools that are a good academic match as far as admissions, so that you meet those admissions requirements and narrow down your list based on that. If you're a freshman or a sophomore and you're just starting to explore schools, if you have schools in mind that you're interested in, it's important for you to know what their admissions profile looks like, what admitted students have as far as their GPA and test scores, so that you know what to strive for. You know what your goal is as far as your ACT, SAT scores, and your GPA. So in addition to looking at the admissions match, we also want to look at other components of academic fit. So check out the comments below, where you will find a link to download and save a copy of this Best Fit College Interest Explorer, which will help you explore different types of post-secondary institutions, figure out what colleges and universities have to offer, think about what your interests and needs are as a student, so you can be looking for these different factors when you are exploring colleges and building your college list. So academic fit, big part of it, in addition to do they have my major, am I going to get admitted, is what kind of learning environment is available? How do I want to learn? What kind of classroom setting do I want? In addition to lectures and seminars, you might be looking at hands-on learning opportunities such as laboratory or clinical learning environments. So think about what kind of classroom setting you're interested in. So as you're exploring colleges, you can see whether or not those classroom settings are available. This is something that students oftentimes overlook. What kind of academic supports are available? It is essential that you have academic supports in place so that you can be successful in your academic program of study, you can meet your educational goals, and you can be prepared for the world of work after you leave the university or college. So we want to look at things like academic advising and opportunities, tutoring centers, writing centers, math and science centers, opportunity for undergraduate research, the ability to get into a lab and do some hands-on work, as well as specialized support programs for different groups of students, such as women in STEM, first-generation support student services. For international students, are there international student services and intensive language learning programs? These are all the different types of supports that can help you to be successful. Think about what you need and what you want as a student. And then finally, we have a chart here to help you think about what type of learning environment is going to be a good fit for you. So do you meet the admissions requirements for a highly selective school? And if so, is that the type of learning environment where you're going to thrive? Do you want to be in a really highly competitive, fast-paced, demanding environment? Or are you interested in more of a mix between academic challenge and support, where you are going to have access to a lot of different activities and opportunities in a more collaborative learning environment? So consider, which kind of schools do I meet the admissions requirements for, and which kind of learning environment is going to be the best fit for me? So that wraps up our segment here on admissions and academic fit. Join us next time for our video on calculating financial fit in our College Fit webinar series. Thanks so much for being here.